I know you are, Delilah says. But that's impossible. Even I don't know what I am. I know what I was born to be a New World princess in the sea of self proclaimed lords and ladies that was high society Boston. My brother and I shared a governess as we shared a crib, and we shared our lessons at first. We learned to read and write, to paint, and to play the piano. But then he learned to shoot while I learned needlepoint. He learned to fence while I learned my etiquette. He learned to manage the estate, and I learned more etiquette. I wanted to shoot, to fence, to manage the estate. I wanted to be the master of my own destiny. But I cannot be the master because God designed me for bustles and bonnets, petticoats and parasols. I know what you are, Delilah says, but how can she? How can she possibly know about the terrible fights I had with my mother and my maids? The wretched debutante I didn't want to be, but couldn't help because I was drowning in lace and flowers and dance cards and suitors. So many suitors. Because I had a powerful father, a substantial dowry, a pretty face that looked less and less like me every day. I was praised for my excellent manners, for how quiet and proper I was, because if I made more than a peep, if I took a single step out of line, I knew I would scream. I would run. They would label me as unnatural. And they'd be right. I know what you are, Delilah says, but she is wrong because no one would look at something unnatural the way she looks at me. I will break her heart as I break my own, as my parents broke my heart so many times, as they attempted to force suitor after suitor on me, as they threatened me for not trying hard enough, as my father lashed me for turning down the second marriage proposal, and my mother attempted a kinder approach after the third failure, promising me that I would come to enjoy the marital bed, and surely a child would cure my perversion. But there is no cure for me because my perversion is me. Freedom was the death of my father. I did mourn. He raised his hand to me to save me the only way he knew how, because the only other choice was to cast me away, and he could not. He loved me too much to let me go. I was my brother's charge then, and he was the one person in Boston who understood that I fought not the shackles of femininity, but femininity itself. I was hopeless in Boston. His gift to me was a flyer about land in Oklahoma, a suitcase of clothes he'd long outgrown but held on to, and the entirety of my dowry. I know what you are, Delilah says, but I pray she is wrong because I didn't make it to Oklahoma at first. I was scared to go too far from civilization, so I made it to the edge, to Missouri, where I could get a room and a job, where I had amenities, comfort, and the people were more forgiving of perversions. I stuck to myself. I didn't talk to men or women. I kept my head down. They thought I might be a criminal, so they watched me closely. And I wasn't careful enough. No matter how I dressed, how I talked, how I walked, my body was the wrong body. My monthly courses, a ridiculous mistake. I was the only one not paying attention, and I stained my britches in a most telling way. And I learned that there were some perversions Missouri would not accept. I know what you are, Delilah says, because I've let her get too close. Because when I fled to Oklahoma, I learned from my previous mistake. I took land outside of town. I joined up with a group of single men who traveled plot to plot to build simple homes for ourselves. I spoke with a refined enough accent that no one was surprised that I was weak and had to be taught how to build. And I grew strong. I held my own with a hammer and nail. I planted my own field and raised my own chickens. I slaughtered them for food when I needed to, and I only wept the first time. I taught myself how to shoot a gun to save the rest of my chickens from coyotes. And I went into town and drank at the saloon, attended dances, courted women. I had rules: 3 to 6 months per woman. No more, no less. Stay distant, but remain friendly. Wait to hear their opinions so I can always counter them, but politely. Maggie wanted 4 children, I wanted none. Mary wanted to go east, I wanted to go west. Cora didn't want children to hold her back from her dream of California, so I wanted a brood of at least a dozen to take back to Boston one day. I parted with those ladies in 3 to 6 months, but always on the best of terms and the greatest of wishes. All 3 of them married the bachelors I built homes with. I know what you are, Delilah says, because I broke my rules. She works at the saloon with Cora and pursued me after Cora and I parted ways. She knew too much about me already and demanded to know what I'd never told another living soul here in Oklahoma Territory. And I was enchanted. Her breath, her heart, her essence, the way she laughs when she's uncomfortable, the riot of curls no ribbon could tame, the curses that slip through her lips when she steps in a puddle or jams her finger and forgets herself. Every little thing. My heart spills for her. I told her my brother's story, for it was close enough to my own. I told her I was unable to have children. It's not truly a lie. I told her I didn't care much about where I live, so long as I can be free. But I am no more free with her than anyone else, and I'm not strong enough to let her go as my brother did me. I know what you are, Delilah says after we've kissed. It's not the first time we've kissed, but it's the most intense we've shared, the most terrifying. It's nighttime in July. A fireworks display has been set up, and we're in the back of my wagon lounging in the hay. I've seen so many fireworks in my life that it's hard to muster excitement for them. But my heart grows as Delilah's eyes do at each explosion. She points and laughs, and I love her. And I have to let her go before she finds out what I actually am. Either way, I'll break both our hearts. But I can't have her repulsed by the kisses we shared, too. I know what you are, Delilah says, and I'm so love drunk from the kiss that the words don't even make sense at first. But then the words hit me. My breasts aren't bound enough. My pants don't fit right in the crotch. My arms are too delicate no matter how many hours I spend on my farm. I never shave. My voice is too sweet. I am Icarus, and she is my sun. She has melted through my facade. She will be my ruin. I stutter nonsensically. Joe, she says, and she still smiles so pleasantly that I tell myself, no, she must be talking about something else. I've always known. Before I can stop her, she rests a hand between my legs, cups me, rubs her fingers there. It's not what you think, I cry out, even as the sweetest, most fleeting pleasure flutters through me. You're not a woman? She asks with a laugh. Not her awkward one. She's grinning at me. She's so beautiful. My face is on fire. I stammer some stupidity, saved only by her kiss and her tentative second guess. Are you a eunuch, then? I shake my head, still unable to find words. The words don't exist. I've always had my suspicions about you, she tells me, but sweetly. And then Cora, she didn't know, but just some things she said, They confirmed it. Are you mad at me? I ask. My head is spinning. I forget that it was she who pursued me. My heart pounds. Her smile glows brighter than any rocket in the sky. I've always wanted you. I've always wanted this. Her light fades ever so slightly as she admits, I'm married, Joe. He was a good man, but I couldn't stomach the rutting. It never felt right, not for me. No man would have been right for me. I still wanted love in a marriage bed, but I couldn't have an affair. I couldn't lie like that. So I came out here to find someone who I could love. My heart still pounds. She leans over me, pressing our chests together, and I wish there was nothing between us. But I'm too scared to hope. I know what you are, Delilah says, and the world stops around us. My heart stops. You're the person I'm meant to spend the rest of my life with. Fireworks explode above us, but they have nothing on our next kiss.